Coffee Crusher's here. That must mean it's summer in California.
It's summer in California. I have power. Exactly. Can't say I'm awake, but I'm here.
There we go. The sun rises. Sun still
The sun
rises.
yeah, the sun still rises.
Sun goes up, sun goes down. You can't explain that. All right, we're 3 minutes past, so we may as well get into it. Let me share my screen first off to our weekly all hands. All right, GM, one and all. This is our all-team tactical meet for April 17th, 2024. And this is our meeting that we use to sync up on work that's going on around bCard, prioritize our work as we can, and eliminate blockers, hopefully, as well, for the next week. Ooh, I forgot to take a quick attendance. I should do that right now. We got a good crew going on right now, so may as well get a nice before. Paris, Ghost is here, Rainus is here, and I Thinker is here. Tom is here, Winverse is here, and Coffee Crusher is here. Nice. All right, our lag metrics. This is what we're aiming to optimize, but may not change on a week-to-week basis. And oh, we also have Ovsky here. Ovsky. All right. Come on up to the stage if you like, Ovsky. And yeah, so we have 1770 in transaction volume. So this is complete total transaction volume since we started. That's the aim that we're gonna keep trying to go this until this gets up to 1 million. So that's plus 248 since last week. On our lead metric side, we have 9 new users. This was, I think, mainly from the beta email that we sent out. We have 2 communities deployed and a Thinker. Notice I changed this metric, so we'll have to talk about whether or not this is actually a good metric. But before it was percent completion of the community card, but the community card is complete. So I feel like we need another metric for you.
Okay, time for a pivot. Let's do it.
Yeah, does this make sense now to get a number of communities deployed?
Yes, I think that's definitely a good metric, and then it would be good if we can work out some of the specifics. I had some questions, especially yesterday, in that DM with Slagor, whatever the dude's name is.
Or yeah, the Mammoth King.
Yeah, Origin Dollar DAO. So we've got the paid version, i.e. the branded card. We've got the free version. What exactly does free mean? Are we going to have them sign up for some form of marketing? There's a few different questions I've got around that. And those are actually some of the blockers that I've got in terms of updating the pitch deck as well. So yeah, I think that would be something that we should work out. What are we asking? What are our asks?
Free tier. What does the free tier encompass? Okay, I put into the discussion items, and I will. Oh, come on, turn into heading 2. There we go. And I'll also put in. Hazu wanted to speak about the Taxman grant compensation. So if Hazu comes around, we could talk about it. I'll put it in here. All right, here we go. All right, well, thanks for that update, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. For returning users and 0 new money in the multi-sig, we moved the bCard Discord channels up in Discord. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't noticed, I moved it up. I don't know. I guess like one of the reasons I did it was mainly not because I minded going all the way to the bottom of the Discord, but I didn't like being below completely dormant projects, if that makes sense. Like I didn't like that we were below projects that were not doing anything at all. So I moved us up. I even moved us up above like some of the other projects and guilds and departments. So definitely did it in a cheeky way, but that is kind of bCard's brand. So I think that's okay. So if you're having trouble finding it, it's right under the general section. We have a general section and then we have a bCard section. So go ahead and take a look there. The draft payroll is out. I made a major mistake on Tom's compensation. So, you know, if I can make a mistake there, I can make a mistake anywhere. I would love for you to go ahead and take a peek. When I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to everyone here. To go ahead and take a look for your name, just make sure that it is correct or what you expected. I make mistakes, right? And so we can certainly fix any mistakes after the fact, but much better if we get it into a groove of trying to ensure that things are correct as we keep going. And we still need to update our strategy doc. Not really going to worry about this too much, but I did want to leave it up there, not as a reminder, but more just as a call out to the rest of our team that we are kind of in a place where our strategy, I would say, needs a bit of a dust off, but that's okay. I think like as long as you show up to this meet, it's kind of okay, but it's for the people who can't really show up to meet that updated strategy doc. All right. On the new member side, I don't see anyone new, but you know what? It's been a while since we've seen you, Sean John. Do you wanna introduce yourself to maybe people who don't know you?
GM guys, I'm Sean John. I live in Singapore. I joined BDAO in 2002. Was doing a bit of work in global events, a bit of work in the Dev Guild, a bit of work in bCard, Writers Guild, and work kind of got too much. So, excuse me. So I fell off the map for a bit. Now things are a bit more stable at work, so I'm back and looking to see how I can contribute. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Thanks, Links.
Thank you for coming again. And as I was saying to Drost as well, the good thing about a DAO is that you can pop in and out as it suits you. So it's good to see you back, and it's good to see that people can find us again after their real life stabilizes. So thank you for coming back, and we'll figure out how you can contribute. There's lots to do right now. Meanwhile, let's get into our milestone perspective, and let's remember that our goals are to create revenue. This is our transaction volume here. All of these milestones are aimed towards creating revenue. So right now, we're aiming to launch the proof of concept publicly, and our goal on beta testing is to get 50 users to get through and to load cards and to use their cards. So we sent out an email to 119 users last week. We got 9 users, which is a 7.5% conversion, which in general is pretty good. So, I could go through the click-throughs and all these other, I think we had like 67% click-through, which is really good. We had a 67% open rate and a 22% click-through or even higher, something like that. Which is very good, and a 7.5 conversion through an email is quite good. So in general, that looks quite really good, and these are the kinds of numbers, these conversion numbers, that we're going to want to start thinking about as we go into public beta. So that's going to be exciting. We also got some feedback from those users. Tom had a heart attack, probably from me, but in general, it ended up being okay. The user just had to log in and log out, so that should probably be our first troubleshooting step. And I think that maybe making it easy for users to come give us feedback might be a good thing, because if they have to do that, it might be something that they need to do. Anyways, we shall see.
Just a heads up there, Links. It was my first recommendation that he tried to log in and log out. It was reported that it didn't work, so that's why I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But it turns out it did. So good.
Yeah, turns out it did. And that's the thing. Users in general often don't always know or aren't always reliable to follow steps you give them. So that's why we have to. It's one of our goals here to bridge the gap between Web3 UX and the real world. And a really good way for us to bridge the gap is through that human connection. So taking the extra step, going the extra mile to kind of help our users ensure that they can use our product, especially when our product is kind of in this early infant state. Really good thing for us to do. So thank you, Tom. Next steps on the beta testing side: more users and to test the Apple and Google Pay flow. So we need another 15 users to get us to the point where we've got those people in our goals. We'll see how we can get them, and we'll go from there. On the rewards flow side, we do have a workflow, but it's not a reliable workflow, I would say, yet, not for all the different wallets and platforms. So if you use Coinbase on mobile versus using Rainbow on desktop versus using MetaMask in your browser, these are all different kind of workflows that we need to work through. You have something to say on that, Tom?
Oh, I just wanted to just mention real quickly that that bug that we were noting on Rainbow the other day, I ran into it this morning while attempting to mint an NFT on Zora. So it looks like it might not be limited specifically to our instance.
Yeah, Wallet Connect is, I guess, like notoriously unstable, which is unfortunate. But it had been good for, I feel like, the last couple months to a year. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see. But every time Apple posts an update, sometimes it can break Wallet Connect. So we have to, we need at least one that works really, really well. And so we shall see. But hopefully it's one on mobile. But if not, that's okay too. On the Apple and Google Pay side, it works. So you have now, you've probably seen them on our socials, but in general, you can put a bCard on your Apple Pay or Google Pay, which is massive. It is one of the top two pieces of feedback that we have been getting, that people don't want to swipe. They just want to have the card in their Apple or Google Pay and tap. So that really reduces the friction on the payment side. If you're wondering what that other top piece of feedback is that it is difficult to load the card, which is legit. But there's not much we can do about it at this point, unfortunately. That being said, the bigger we get, the more options we'll have on making it easier to load the card. At least on the paying side, the friction is lowered. So pretty excited about that. The only thing is that probably most of our users don't know that that's even possible. So what we're going to do for this is in the app, in the onboarding, we'll probably have the users add the card into their Apple Pay or Google Wallet. And as well, I'm going to be, in the short term, creating a support article for this and then sending an email to our beta testers, hopefully today, knock on wood. But if I don't get it done today, then sometime tomorrow or the next day. So writing the article, sending it out to our beta testers, and letting them know to test it and give us feedback. All right, setting up our content funnel. Rainus and Coffee Crusher, how's this going?
Well, mostly work for me this week was website stuff, helping with the design. Which, by the way, the first draft from Andy is ready, and he's ready to meet with Brett to start working on the version 2 of the design. But that's mostly what my focus this week has been.
Awesome. And how about you, Coffee Crusher?
So Rainus has provided first draft of sort of the new content for the website. I gave feedback on that. And we're also, in regards to social, content funnel as well as the social content, is Rainus did a social media strategy. I want to add some things to it, like engagement of how we work with other socials accounts. But it's a really great base to that.
And what about like the actual posting? I think like you guys had been posting about Taxman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Taxman, and I didn't realize that we actually have Google Pay as well. I know we have Apple because I saw, of course, NF had posted that. So I will do, my strategy this coming week is to do posts about, I presume I can post about this, right? That
Yes,
we can talk about Google and Apple?
You can talk about Google and Apple and solicit beta testers. That would be useful.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically saying like, do you want a beta test? Do you live in the US? You can.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
good. Okay, then yeah, and I'll probably do that on Warp for the beta testers.
Cool.
Cool. So that's what I will be doing.
Beta tester. And what about Taxman?
Oh, Taxman. Well, one of the cool things, I'm super excited because I saw Tom's post that we now have Australian and the UK pound. So what my strategy with Taxman is that I want to keep on promoting it during the year because I used it for the first time this week, for my own taxes and so forth, and it's actually very cool. So it's like something to always be using. So I want to kind of keep on reminding people during the year, not just the week of the U.S. taxes. I know that the Canadian taxes are due at the end of this month, but I think it's that we need to start including that in our communications, not just bCard. So just continuously talking about it.
Yeah, if you wanted something to maybe just use as a pitch, the recent upgrades that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks for Taxman has allowed me to, let's just say, a lot easier integrate new tokens and new currencies. So if you want to solicit requests from the audience, what do you want next? We could certainly accommodate them.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, I think you can create polls, right? We can create polls I know we can create them on Twitter, but I think on Warp as well. So, yeah, I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Lynx had directed me to a tool for polling on Warpcast. I'm blanking on the name of it now, but I'll look it up for you.
I think it's Ponder.
That's it. That's the one.
So you definitely can, but to get engagement from people, you may have to like you may want to think about your targets first. Okay, sorry, let me take a step back. In terms of Taxman, it's really important that we get as much usage in the next month as possible, because Retro PGF, or not even in the next month, in the next 2 weeks, because Retro PGF starts in May. So it will probably do better if we have better usage over the next 2 weeks. So in general, if we have to, if it's something that we can push through our socials, that would be good. And the second thing is that in terms of actually like soliciting tokens and stuff like that, just posting to the bCard channel isn't going to be enough, because we actually don't have that many followers on there. What we'll want to do is target certain communities, maybe put that poll up, and then go to the DJ community and say like, oh, sorry, not the DJ community because we've already seen it, but like communities like Hire and Gloom, and just saying like, hey, do you guys want your token to be on this tax tool? Take a look. Right? Those kinds of things. Yeah, so just something to note. In terms of, as well, another message I think that could work is, hey, did you recently get an airdrop? Anytime that an airdrop comes out, we can be like, hey, did you recently get an airdrop? By the way, you owe taxes on it, and here's a really easy way to calculate those taxes. I was using it yesterday to check out my 2024 DGen requirements, so that is something that's kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, the airdrop thing is actually a really good message, because that happens. Yeah, well, at least in the U.S., right? I don't know about Canada, but yeah, I didn't realize that that's taxable the year you receive them. So yeah, especially because you're receiving DGen, which is one of those considered. So I will get that pushed in especially the next couple of weeks, and I probably will hit you up, Links, for some suggested communities on Warp.
Yeah, I have a good list for you, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so someone made a list for someone else. Where was it? Here it is. I got it. Okay. I'm going to copy the link here.
Perfect.
Okay, I put it in there.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that's it for the content funnel. In general, like, let's just keep turning the screws on our socials. Like, we actually have stuff to promote now. So in general, soliciting beta testers and getting people on TaxFan, I guess, are the two messages you guys can really push on the socials. All right. We have set up our community funnel. I just think, how's this going?
Yeah, so that's going to be something that we're going to continue talking about a little bit down the line. That once we can figure out what it means to be a free tier community, I think that's going to be integral to opening up the floodgates and getting people onboarded. Because it's easy to, like we heard from Origin Dollar DAO yesterday, they're ready to go. They're like, okay, let's get on. But what does that mean for us in terms of onboarding their token? How are we going to track that usage? Are we ready to come out of beta with our main card yet? So we we're almost there. We just don't want to open the floodgates and then have all these questions pop up.
Hmm. Another thing we could do is like add them as a beta community, right? And just say like, hey, you know, we can get a couple people on. Actually, Slagathor is one of our beta testers, just as an FYI. So we could add Origin Dollar DAO as a community and then be like, hey, can you like get us like a couple beta testers, like 10 beta testers or something?
I think another question I have in terms of communities, let's imagine our average user might be involved in, say, 5 different digital communities. And just so happens that all 5 of those communities are on our card. Can they swap between different communities on a purchase by purchase basis? Can I go online, affiliate with Origin Dollar DAO, make a purchase, earn Origin tokens, then swap immediately to Nouns DAO and make a Nouns purchase and earn Nogs?
This is probably a question that Tom can answer, but from what I understand, yes and no. Yes, you can switch mid-month and change your rewards mid-month. So like you get Nogs on day 1 and in day 2 you get let's say OGV, which is the Origin Governance Token. But I don't know if it's that reliable that you can like make a purchase and then 2 minutes later make another purchase.
Yeah, I think that certainly the idea is there for the changeability of the communities to be possible. And certainly there is some detection that's done on the API server side when the transactions come in. But it does rely on some communication between the user client. So when they register their change of community, yeah, actually, I think that should happen pretty much immediately. I think you should be able to switch it on the fly, and it should be able to flag it on the fly. But that's certainly something that I would add to the testing queue to let me take a deeper look at.
Yeah, that would be great if we can test that, because that's one of the features that I think is going to be a standout feature. It's going to be something that people are going to want to do, especially if you consider the fact that there are so many people in so many different communities. I mean, like, look at people who are involved in Nogs. I've got a meeting lined up next week with ATX DAO to hopefully onboard them, and that's the Austin DAO. I know for a fact that many of those members are also Nouns holders and active in the Nogs community. So what happens if they order a Nouns card, but okay, I want to actually support ATX with this purchase. I'm gonna go out and spend $1,500, and then on top of that, we need to consider what are the extra reward structures that we can build around purchases. And that's going to incentivize people to go to certain shops. Like, okay, this skateboard shop has agreed, hey, if you're a NARS holder and you come in and purchase a skateboard from us, we're going to give you double Nogs tokens. Those types of incentives. Those are the things that we need to work towards, because those are the things that already exist. So I'd like to see a lot more clarity around those types of features.
Yeah, these are the things that we definitely have to test if that's what we want. But yes, in general, it's rather easy to change your community. And when your rewards are coming in, it is, well, right now it's by purchase, right? Just because of the way that they're calculated. We don't have the calculation by amount yet, which could be a little bit more difficult to show. I feel like we could still do that use case, but it might be more difficult to show to the user how much they're actually going to get.
When you say it's not done by amount, what does that mean?
Because right now we're doing it like, we have like, okay, for Nogs or bank, specifically for bank, we're doing it like one bank per dollar. But in the future, it might be like you created this much interchange revenue, that's how much bank you get based upon that interchange revenue.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I get that. That's where we're definitely headed. But for now, it's just based on a dollar. And so this is another one of those questions that comes up, right? We can onboard as many new communities as we want, how are we going to get those tokens? Are we then going to ask them for a grant of a specific amount of tokens? And I know we've talked about that before, but we haven't really set up any standards around that. I don't know that every community is going to want to give us free tokens.
Yeah, we don't need free tokens actually necessarily because we're getting money starting on day one. The only issue is that when that interchange comes in, like at the end of the month, there is no report which says like, hey, this is how much you got per transaction or anything.
Right.
So what that means is we're going to need to do some sort of math on that ourselves based upon the information that we have, because we do have their purchases and stuff, but we won't have like how much interchange each purchase generated.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we kind of do because we know what tier it is. Anyways, we'll see.
Yeah, we can calculate it ourselves, but it's not something that's going to be presented to us in a report and be able to. We're going to have to dive into that ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for that update. In terms of raising 200K, Retro PGF, the goal is to get Taxman used by as many people as possible because impact equals income in Retro PGF. We got more tokens and more currencies and more chains. So way to go, Tom, on this. That was really huge that we got these up there. In terms of grants and accelerators, I don't think we had any activity this week on grants and accelerators. So that's kind of it. On the new brand side, carrier edits, we're waiting on the final copy here. It's almost done. We're really just changing the name of our card was Bankless GDPR MasterCard. So soon it will be called bCard GDPR MasterCard. And our landing pages for ConvertKit and vault.banklesscard.xyz still need to be done. But in general, this is pretty much complete. We're pretty much on this new brand now. There are still things that we need to do. But yeah, we're pretty close to ending this milestone. So just FYI. To the team, we may be finished this one pretty soon. Let's get into our task perspective here. First, we'll look at our role salaries. So this needs to actually be changed because I have a new proposal number. So we'll look at that. But in general, Project Champion, 5K Bank, yes. And I've been leading the Ops Workstream lead. On the communication side, Raina, have you spent at least 5 hours on Bankless Card in the last week?
Yep.
And if Thinker, have you spent at least 5 hours on Bankless Card last week? On bCard, I guess, rather.
Yep.
Tom?
Yeah, you know it.
Yep, and Coffee Crusher.
By the way,
Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt. I wanted to change my defer to 100%. I added a comment in the Google Doc. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw that. I'll change it when I can. Sorry, Coffee Crusher, what did you say?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And I think for week 15 as well, this isn't something I asked, but I think everyone spent 5 hours on the previous week as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All
Indeed.
right. Okay, and I'll change this to 70. And I'll change this to 70. All right, great. I'll take this off of the all team projects for now, and we'll go into the accounting. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Nothing in the inbox in terms of our milestones. Well, we just talked about those. And when we are done, we're going to start getting, when we're done on the publicly launching, we're going to try to get 1,000 daily transacting users. That'll be our goal. On the project side, we have our external documentation on-chain goodies, but I'm going to skip over those to give us some more time in our discussion. On the milestone, we've deployed their new brand. I put this in done, but I guess it's not quite done yet. There's a couple things more that we need to do. Is that correct? ConvertKit, I think, is a big one. All right, cool. Well, change our org emails to use the new domain. This has been done, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this as complete. Set up our team Google Drive. I did set this up yesterday, but not everyone has access to it. It is just an empty drive. All of the at getbcard.io emails should have access to this. So go ahead and check it out if you want. I think Raina specifically you wanted it. Both media at getbcard.io and banklesslv@gmail.com have access to this Google Drive. Because we're on the business starter plan, we don't actually have access to their product called Shared Drive, and we would have had to double our Google expenditure to get that shared drive. So I figured we could just use this for now and see how it goes, and we'll see if we need something more than that in the future. So I'm going to mark this as complete. All right. On the Delaware LLC taxes, I actually think, well, Arcusty, did you do some research on this? I guess you said you want to do research and if we needed to do some other things for this, or? You're muted, Arcusty.
Yeah. I was having a hard time getting the button. No, I haven't done additional research. I thought, well, for the Delaware taxes, that's the filing for that's done, right?
The filing is done, yeah.
Yeah, okay, because I think I guess we can leave this out here, but the research stuff is maybe doesn't have a deadline per se.
Okay, cool.
Or anything in the immediate.
Well, I'll leave it here because I was just making sure that it actually got filed, and I do have a document that they emailed me about to take a look at, so maybe that is showing what's done, but we shall see. Transcendence, and Thinker, how's this going?
Funny enough, I had a message from Alan today, about an hour and a half ago, and he says, "Bro, ¿cómo estás? Sorry for the delay." So I don't know where he's been, what he's been doing, but I just said, "Hey, that's fine. Just how's things? We want to get the Noggle filter released as soon as possible." I also told him about the Warpcast campaign that Nogs is running. Basically, you upload memes and can earn Nogs. So maybe that will kind of chivvy him up, get him out there posting. But yes, we're waiting on the final version of that movie, and we're waiting on the filters.
All right, thanks for that. And Nouns Prop House, we're going to wait on this until we get into our public launch. Retro PGF4, we talked about this. In general, we want to push Taxman as much as possible. So when in doubt, push Taxman. This can go for everyone as well. It doesn't just need to go for our communication team. So we'll put that up there. On the beta app side, we have 35 of our 50 users. We kind of talked about this. We are going to be slowly moving into a way to gathering repeatable feedback from this crew. And our first feedback item will be Apple and Google Pay. So I will get that list of beta testers and send them a survey for Apple and Google Pay, and we will see how it goes from there. Find a new on-ramp provider. So I looked into Coinbase. This is not going to be an option for us because they're basically set up for not what we really want to do, and it's a minimum of $1,000 fee just for them to take a look at what you guys what we're doing. So I just didn't think it was worth it compared to some of these other on-ramp providers. So I'm going to close this one off the list. But how's this going on Bridge XYZ? I think we're waiting on them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got a meeting set up for Tuesday.
All right, cool. So I will put this into Tuesday. Boom. All right. Cool. Actually, I may as well just leave it here. The world needs communities. How's this article looking? Honestly, I think it is pretty close to shippable myself, Coffee Crusher, but I don't know. I think you had some issues with this one.
Well, yeah, I want to say it's like my nemesis. Yeah, I mean, what I think I haven't had a chance is just to reread it and just read it in full, because what I've been doing is reading it in parts, and then it's kind of, I read it through a couple times, and then it's, I was reading it in parts and sort of dissecting it that way. But I think I will get that done later today. Is I'll read it through, and I think, I mean, if you're okay with it, and it does feel very opinion based, like it's kind of a different vibe, and I think that's what was sort of making me look at it second. I mean, it's not bad, it's good writing, there's no doubt about that. It's just more of the tone was sort of getting to me.
All right, yeah. I mean, definitely the tone is different, and I think that we should probably just try it and see what happens, right? I think, like, in general, we don't know what's going to resonate with people, and so it's good for us to just try some of these things. And we don't have a lot of articles in the pipeline right now either, so
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we don't, I mean, it's like we can experiment. That's kind of one of the fun things we can do, right? To sort of see what sticks and what doesn't. But yeah, okay. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it, that it may stick, it may not, and it may resonate with people that we don't think it would. So,
Awesome. All right, deploy Nogs token. Getting the Nogs token. I think we're waiting on NNS to get the Nogs token.
Yeah, he did say last week. But I don't know.
Okay, cool. So it's like basically we're still working on the claim rewards flow, but yeah, getting those Nogs tokens will be kind of paramount. So
When's our first release of Nogs tokens going out? At the end of this month?
yeah.
Okay, I'll just
So
leave
I mean,
that.
there's not a lot, right? Like there's not a lot of Nogs tokens that have been. Yeah, I mean we're already testing. We're testing using the Nogs token contract, right? Like we dropped one Nog token to each of our beta testers, and the aim is to get them to test the rewards flow. But by the end of this month, yeah, we will be needing some Nogs at some point because we do have users on the card.
Yeah, the other thing we haven't really discussed and agreed upon is some sort of emissions for those Nogs.
He basically told us to figure it out ourselves at that meeting, right?
Yeah, I know that's what we need to do with amongst ourselves is figure out how many are we going to put out. I mean, should we just take those 10 million, assuming we're going to get 10 million, if we want them to last us a year, should we set some aside for just in case, and then take, say, 8 million?
I think what we should do. I think what we should do is like first of all, we should do a sanity check by just taking the amount of ETH in that party, and the amount of Nogs that's associated with the LP, and just doing like a division and seeing how much each Nog is going to be worth in the LP. They haven't deployed the LP yet, but that is the intent, is to create an LP with that ETH, so we can get like a kind of baseline price for Nogs.
Mhm.
Right? That's the first thing. So use that, get that number as a sanity check. And then I honestly think we should probably just do what we're doing with Bank, which is give like one Nog per dollar or something right now. If we get to $10 million, it doesn't matter if it happens within like 1 month or 12 months. If we get to $10 million of spending on the Nouns card, we're going to have enough money to buy more Nogs.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. So yeah, so try to get those Nogs, and we can do like a claim there. In terms of the utility on the Nogs, not much right now. The aim is just to kind of track Nounish activity, and spending dollars on a Nouns card is Nounish activity. So we'll see how that goes. Updating the cash flow for the POC. Arkusi, this is getting a little bit more important. Have you had a chance to work on it this week?
I haven't really made a significant change to it, I guess, but
Okay, like I think like what my needs are around this is really to get to is for us to start to estimate how many users we're going to need to get to, like, let's call it sustainability. And so sustainability means that we have X number of users, it's paying for all of our costs and hopefully paying for some of our time as well. So we need to look at how that's going to work. That's going to help us create a little bit more of a goal within the team, and also be able to share outside of the team with our community what our plan is, how are we going to, like, what are we aiming for, and how can we get there?
okay.
All right. And video content, Rainus, how's this going?
Not much visual progress since last week, but we're testing some scripts. Still trying to make this happen. It's been a bit difficult, but we are on the way to at least one video out by the end of this week, hopefully.
Okay, great. Nice. Anything else that we're working on that's not on this list? You know what? Another thing that we're working on is the new brand. So I'll put that down here. Oh, update website V3. I totally skipped over this. So we did get a little bit of an update, but did you want to give us an update on this, Rainus?
Yeah, Andy's first draft of the design is done, and we'll schedule a meet with Brett sometime soon for him to take a look at it. Zuri, I see you're in the audience as well. You can up, and she's gone. Of course, still here.
No, she's
I don't know.
She's
You've
there.
lagged for me the past few days like crazy. I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah,
But
it's been happening with me too on Discord.
yeah, anyways, you guys can check out. I think the Figma link is in this Asana task. So the draft version, no, or it's not there, or is it there?
No, I don't see the Figma link. Can you add the Figma link here?
Yeah. Give me a few.
Yeah, add it into the descriptor if you can. Yeah, I think like I haven't seen Andy's Figma yet, but I do think that Brett's look at the design that we saw yesterday was really good, and I wonder for Andy who's learning design if working with Brett using Brett's design work for this new kind of brand look that he's doing might be a way forward.
Well, Andy hasn't seen this Brett's design, so this current design is based on our previous brand.
Okay, yeah, it might be good to. It would definitely be good to take a look at Brett's design.
I have
So-
posted in the comments.
I
Okay,
have a
great.
question. Rainus, will Andy be able to attend that Friday meeting that you and I are meeting with Brett?
I'll make sure that he does.
Okay.
Yeah, the link, Figma link, is in this task description.
All right. Okay, so that's next up with the website. Okay, so that's with the design and anything else that we're working on. Oh, we talked about the brand. Let's just call it brand. The next brand. Help this. I'm gonna assign this to. Well, I should assign it to Brett, but I think I need his email, so I'll do that later. We have a temporary brand in bCard, but we want to explore what our desired brand will be. It needs to be something we all can get behind and work for us in the long term. Success, criteria, explore, brand, colors, messaging, logo, name, etc. Decide on a brand amongst team, amongst. Is that how you spell amongst? Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that. Amongst the team. Amongst the team, and create a plan to deploy the new brand. All right. All right, so we have our bCard brand, which means that we are unblocked on getting this into as many hands as possible. But I think in general, most people are. I don't know. I'm not super enthused by bCard. I was more enthused by Bankless Card, as you can probably hear, as I keep saying Bankless Card all the time. But we can't use Bankless, so we need something else that we can all get behind. Does that make sense? And just FYI, Brett has been working actually very hard on creating a new brand concept based on his own inspiration as well. He's been meeting with the team one-on-one, and yesterday we had a kind of group discussion on what he came up with, and it's pretty interesting. I think it is a definite potential way forward. So Rainus and Andy will be meeting with Brett to on this, but yeah, in general, I think it's very important now that we have like most of the bCard stuff kind of handled, to kind of look at what that next brand will be. Yeah. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rainus, I know Rainus hasn't seen it, and Andy, and I know there's a couple other people who haven't seen it, but what is the what did you guys talk about timing of, like, if that brand design that we saw, and if the consensus is what we all agree upon that we like, if that's, what is the timing to roll that out? Like, Brett talked a little bit about, like, because there's this transition that you have to start talking about and start, we were talking about, like, if this is the brand we go with, like, you start dropping almost like little mini alphas of what the brand's going to look like until you roll it, like it's a transitional stage. But what is the timing for that?
I think that's TBD. I don't want it to interfere with our launch. We could say that, like, all of our like, let's say, early communities are on our old brand, and then, like, sometime this summer or this year, could even be later this year, that we decide that we want to roll out the new brand. I don't think that there's anything stopping us from using brand, like updated brand for app, website, visual assets, that kind of thing. I don't think that there's anything stopping us from doing that. And I think that things like it is non-trivial, let's call it, to update the brand as well. So I think that's important, that we are kind of making sure that it is, let's say, following our plans, right? Like, we don't want to necessarily execute on a new brand if it's going to get in our way. But I do think that we have to know what that new brand is, and we can decide what the timing is. Maybe we'll decide, hey, we should just get this out as quickly as possible. All right, so it's TBD is a short answer.
Got it. Okay, that just makes sense. But I mean, there is a transitional period, because and I agree with the POC launch, if it's going to be, May 1st or whatever, is that you don't want to interfere with that. But there's things like what we just went through with bCard, right? Like, everything from the banners to the URLs to the, there's quite a few things that you have to do, but you can start doing things like we did with bCard, right? We started rolling out, we changed the banners on certain socials, we changed the name on our newsletter, so I guess it's just something to be aware of. I think I'm just bringing it up. It's just, we do timing, but there's also a gradual, you don't change the website overnight. You start with changing small things, over time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're gonna have to. That's still how we still have to determine how that's gonna work. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. So what did we ship last week? It was actually a big week for shipping. We had a lot. Coffee Crusher promoted socials on Taxman. We got our subscriber email going out shortly. Tom got a big Taxman update. We have ARB, we have DGen, we have great GBP, Great Britain pounds, Australian dollars, and more. We also added backend improvements to allow any date ranges and any pricing for new tokens as well. So that's going to make it easier for us to add new communities. That's another thing, and I think as we're adding new communities, we probably want to add their token to Taxman. So that's another thing out. I got a draft payroll out. Take a peek if you haven't. I made a shared G drive. Brett shared his brand concept with the team yesterday, and Link's made a feedback button on the app main screen, and I shipped a beta email to get us some more users. Anything else that people ship that isn't here? Oh yeah, Andy shipped first draft of design, although I haven't seen it yet. Rainus, did you put that in here? Was it here? Oh, here it is. Okay, great. So Andy shipped the first draft of the design. Anything else that anyone shipped? Oh, well, NF Thinker and Transcard shipped Apple and Google Pay. And Tom and our Christy tested it. Anything else? All right, big week for us. All right, let's talk about Community Card. Or what are we calling it now? Communal Card? Shared card? We call it shared card here. All right, shared card. What does the free tier encompass? So I think that this is kind of like a combination of between the communication, product, and partnership teams, there's something that a new partner being part of requires for us to do. For instance, we have to add them to our app. We have to add their rewards to our reward system. So that's something that the product team will do. And as well, we will have to coordinate with them on our socials. That's something that the communication team will do. So let's talk about what it's going to take to deploy a new community. Do you want to set the stage, Anna Finker?
Yeah, so I mean, from the onset, when the dance begins, it is a community who wants to get us to onboard to our card, or it's we who want to onboard a community to our card. And so both of us are looking for what are the benefits for ourselves, right? I mean, yes, we want to benefit communities. Yes, we want to help them out, but it all boils down to what does this do for Bankless Card? What does onboarding a new community do for us? For us, it increases our network effect. It helps support more communities, which is a better metric for us. If, someday when we go to raise more money, we can say, okay, we've onboarded this many communities, we have this many users. It increases our usership, it increases our transactions. Those are all things that help us out. What does it do for them and for their users? This is something that we need to have very clear when this dance begins. We need to say, this is what it's going to do for your users. This is what it's going to do for your community, and this is what it's going to cost you. We already know that it's not going to cost their users anything. It's a free card, even though that does have some cost to us. We know that it's going to cost us X amount of dollars to have the card delivered to them. It's going to cost X amount of man-hour time, of Tom-hour time, of getting their token added into our contracts and making sure that the chain is supported if that chain wasn't previously supported, making sure that their tokens, their addresses are correct. It's also going to cost us some due diligence on the community. One of the things that I would like to do is integrate some form of research or analytics on each individual community, whether that be a checklist, a guide, some sort of template that we can go through to check that a community is legit, that this isn't a known rug pull, that the people who have deployed the community aren't known scammers. So that's more from a compliance standpoint and from a safety standpoint for our own users. And then once we can agree on that, then it's pretty much smooth sailing. So the big lift is really up front. We need to woo them, or they will have already wooed us, and then we need to win them. So yeah, those are just my initial kind of thoughts around the process as a whole. And then, we need to figure out what are the costs involved. Do we need them to market for us? If so, are they agreeing to a particular marketing campaign? Are they going to agree to tweet about us once a month or once a week? Or are they going to agree to invite one of us into their community call to talk about the product? So yeah, communication is definitely key. Okay, that was a little brain dump. Open to responses.
So I kind of view it as, thank you, NF, that was really great. Is like the custom card, which is the higher tier card, right, is more of a, because they have to pay to get those cards, right? And with the shared card, I think when you said about like what marketing that they should do, I actually think that's a really great idea. That they should, like, maybe we should have that their requirements is that for them to be, they have to be engaged users, right? So that's really our requirement. It's like from a team as well as a marketing perspective, is that we do AMAs with them. They have to do so many AMAs, maybe 2 to 3 over the year. We have to be in on their community call at least twice, and have some sort of ability to maybe they create a channel. I presume most of these communities have Discord channels or maybe a Telegram channel that we get to promote. I'm thinking like Opulus. You know how Opulus is on every other community that I'm involved in, and they have their own channel and they talk about Opulus, and I've been on a Shapeshift call and Opulus has been talked about. So I'm kind of thinking that like how Opulus does it. It's almost like an ambassador type program, something like that.
Yeah, that's something that we could set up, and we do have some frameworks that have been worked on within Bankless for ambassadors, and we have some people that we can call on who would be able to help us out with a new ambassador program. So that's definitely something that we could do. The relationships ambassador program quickly devolved into what sort of amounts to like bot spam messages going out, and that's definitely not what we want. We want engaged people like Opulus, what Opulus was doing with Rachel going in and talking on community calls or other people. So that's definitely part of it. I think the main concern really now, as we kick off this endeavor, is more around the specifics of what is required from each community, right? What are the costs involved? Even if it's not a monetary cost, because when we say to them, it's free, but we need you to do this, this, or this. What are those things? We need a specific list. And maybe, what are the incentives as well? If you can onboard 1,000 users, maybe we give you something. I don't know what exactly that is, and I don't like to make these promises because it's easier to under-deliver when you make more promises. So, yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be different for each community too. I think we need to have like a one-on-one with them, and maybe having a list of what we could have is important. I think like going in with that kind of, well, first of all, I think like I have an aphorism that people don't value something that's free. So we shouldn't say that it is free. We should basically be saying like, we are aiming to get communities that are going to help us get more transaction volume. Transaction volume is good for the communities, and it's good for us because transaction volume leads to direct revenue for this community. So like the big draw for me is I think direct revenue for communities. That being said, understand that we have done some research on what communities want, but we can, when we get into these one-on-ones, we can take that list of like community leader jobs to be done and a thinker that we did in the past, and ask them which is the thing that they're trying to optimize. So are they trying to optimize revenue? Are they trying to optimize more people having the token in their hands? Are they trying to optimize something else, right? Like that is something that we want to discuss with them, because if they want to maximize revenue, there are different things than if they want to get the token in as many people's hands as possible versus if they want to just like get the brand out there, right? So there are different things. We want to make sure that we understand upfront what the community is looking to achieve, because we want to make sure that we are achieving that for them, right? Like if they are not as interested in revenue, but just interested in getting their brand out there, we might say something like, hey, can we get a bunch of tokens then, and we'll distribute those tokens for you, right? Like that's the kind of idea. So first of all, I think we need to understand what the goal of the community is. So we should have like that list, that checklist of like, hey, what is the goals that we're trying to achieve? Next, we should understand what the cost to the community could be, and it's not going to be like a monetary cost. It's going to be like, hey, we're prioritizing our rollouts based upon who can have the best chance of success. Success for us looks like more of your communities are on the card and using it, right? And so, we want to see like regular communications, like how can we facilitate that? What do you guys have? Do you have a community call? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have socials? Just understanding from that community how they mainly communicate with their users, because that's going to be different for every community. Bankless DAO, I think it's like pretty like some people come to the community calls, some people do the newsletter, and then there's some communities where their podcast is the number one and most important thing, like Bankless HQ. Other than their podcast, like their podcast probably accounts for like 80 to 90% of the attention that Bankless HQ gets. And so if we were working with a community like that, where it's like based around a podcast, we would want to be on their podcast, right? Like these are the kinds of things that we have to kind of work out with each community. But it does help to have a list there. I do see that we're over time a little bit. Maybe we can pick this back up at the ops and or communication meet tomorrow. Does that make sense, NF Thinker?
That's good for me, yeah.
Okay, but yeah, maybe, is it possible for you to come up with like a draft like meeting minutes that we would go in, like our first touch meeting with these groups? Is that something you could do, NF Thinker?
Yeah, and not just meeting minutes, but holding a one-to-one meeting is great once they've passed a certain phase. So maybe we need to give them first a form and say, okay, if you're interested, fill in this form, and that's going to be the survey on what does your community prioritize, what communications channels do you use, how many active members do you have, are your members worldwide or based in a certain specific area, those types of things. Get them to fill that out, and then if it meets our criteria, then we go ahead and meet a one-on-one. And yeah, I think that would be good.
Sounds good. This is the community funnel. This is what we're talking about right here. So great. All right, thanks, NF Thinker. Appreciate that. I will add that to the all team projects. And for the rest of you, just want to say thank you very much. I know that I'm 4 minutes over, so I'll keep this quick. We are moving forward. We did have a massive ship week last week. We are helping DAO contributors with Taxman. We have new DAO contributors on our platform. We have a small amount of transaction volume, but it's getting bigger every week. And of course, we have each other. And I think that that's the most important thing. When we had nothing else, we had each other. And so I appreciate you all being here. And I think that as long as we keep holding on to each other, we'll eventually be able to build all these things around us that are going to enable us to make a bigger impact in the future. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And I will see you later. Have a good one, everyone.
Woohoo!
Thanks, everybody. Let's have a great week.
Thank you, everyone.
You too. Bye.